This week in crypto, BlackRock CEO has said that Bitcoin is a hedge against the inflation dollar. Grayscale Trust is up 57% since the filing of the ETFs. There has been a mysterious 120 million outflow from multi-chain. NFT minting on Solana has outperformed Ethereum, and much more news to go through. But before we get into all of that news, let's hop over and have a look at the movers and the shakers this week in crypto. So here we are here in CoinGecko, and we can see that the biggest gainers this week is Rare Governance, which is up almost 500% in the week. That's a massive pump in the 1 week. XVG is up almost 200%. Robot, which is a gambling platform as far as I know, is up 100%. Stadir is up 48%. So they're the biggest gainers in the last 7 days. But as always, I like to point out the losers as well as the gainers. And the losers this week, we have Turbo down 38%. We've XEN Crypto down 34%. Wise down 32%. Milady Meme Coin also down 2%. Let's hop over to the main coins today, and we can see that Bitcoin in the last 7 days is down 2%. We can see Ethereum is down 1.4%. And today we can see in the last 24 hours, the market cap is 1.22 trillion, and there has been a dip of 2.9% today alone. So now that we've covered the biggest movers and the shakers, let's move over to the crypto news. And for the last God knows how long, Binance has been in the news, and it's come out now that Binance controls 90% of the stablecoin True USD after an overnight spike. And this article goes on to say that the TUSD held on Binance jumped from less than 50 million to almost 2.7 billion overnight. Almost 90% of the stablecoin is now held by Binance, and Binance has aggressively promoted TUSD this year, but the stablecoin has faced scrutiny. Now, this overnight spike is very much a bit of a concern, and the dollar pegged stablecoin circulating supply was just above 3 billion on Thursday afternoon. And on Wednesday, Binance held less than 5 million, but now it's gone up to 2.7 billion. So it'd be interesting to find out what's actually going on. What's the truth about what's going on there? Now, also news on Binance this week is that some of their main staff players have left, and CZ is kind of putting it down to FUD that they didn't all leave this week and that some of them had left previously, but it sounds like staff are not happy in Binance at the moment. So BlackRock, this was, I'm sure everybody has heard about this already. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has said Bitcoin is a hedge against the devaluation of the dollar. Now, I'm not going to play this video today, but what I'll do is I'll actually drop a link in the comments below, in the chat below, so you can watch this video yourself. But this is a big deal that BlackRock CEO is saying that Bitcoin is a hedge. He's very much in favor of cryptocurrency, and it's all very positive news for the cryptocurrency market. On top of that, then we have BlackRock, Fidelity, and all those spot ETF applications. So the SEC didn't reject them. What they've said is they want more information on who they're using as their security partner. So BlackRock, Fidelity Investments, and several other applications for spot Bitcoin ETFs are scheduled to hold a meeting with the SEC. The meeting follows the refiling. So they've all now refiled their applications to include the information about their surveillance sharing partner and other necessary details. Now, it's come out that they're all using Coinbase as their surveillance sharing partner. Now, this meeting isn't out of the ordinary, and hopefully the meeting will bring about some good news and some resolution on all of this, and the ETFs will be approved at some stage. Now, in line with these ETFs, the Grayscale Bitcoin shares are up 57% since the filing. and the discount has narrowed to 30%. If you bought into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust in recent months, it's been at a heavy discount, and there's a chart here to show you that it's been at a heavy discount. At one stage, it was almost 50% discount on the price of Bitcoin. And before the ETFs were filed, it was at 43, and it's regained some of this. Now, I say this with a word of warning. Just because there is a discount here, people could actually start leaving this fund if these ETFs are actually approved, because they can enter a more liquid market via the ETFs, and we may see this take another hit again because if the ETFs are actually approved. So I wouldn't be gung-ho on jumping into something like this with these ETFs looming. Obviously, that's just my opinion and definitely not financial advice. Next piece of news is around hacks, and I always remind people to stay safe in crypto. DeFi traders have lost 220 million to hackers in 3 months. It's a substantial amount of money, but the majority of this has come from two specific incidents. We had the Atomic Wallet and the exit scam by Finotech platform. And most of the money actually came from this. The report compiled by the platform Immunify found that the overall hacks across blockchains went up 63% in the second quarter of 23 compared to the same period last year. The losses were down 60% from last year, but Immunify warned that the overall number of hacks has increased by 65%. And losses from fraud rocketed up by 225%. Look, these smart contracts all have vulnerabilities. You also can have bad actors involved in the platforms as well. And it's looking like one of the bad actors may have been involved in multi-chain. Multi-chain CEO, and we talked about this a number of weeks ago on our show. The multi-chain CEO went missing. And now 120 million of outflow hits the crypto, and multi-chain protocol tweeted that the locked up assets have been moved to unknown addresses abnormally, and added that the team is not sure what happened and is currently investigating. Now Binance had already swapped all their multi-chain tokens, and Binance on their side are saying everything is safe, but this is really not looking good. In late May, multi-chain said it experienced multiple issues and was unable to contact its CEO. Was he a bad actor? Comment below and let me know what you think. Another article out this week, and the results of this I found super interesting. Crypto hubs in 2023. Where to live freely and to work smarter. And I've been really surprised with the list that's come in here. So number 1, Zug, where Ethereum was born and crypto goes up. Singapore is number 2. The Centre for Asian Crypto Wealth is ready for a reset. London is coming in at number 3. And I know the UK are issuing their own crypto guidelines and regulations. Seoul is in there. Dubai is in there. I knew Dubai would be very popular. They've been pro-crypto for a long time. Abu Dhabi is in there. Wagum is in there. Silicon Valley is also in that list. Then down to number 9, Austin, 10, Berlin, 11, Los Angeles, 12, New York. Great to see so many US cities on this list, considering the regulatory situation in the US at the moment. We've got Vancouver in there as well, and Lisbon, Portugal is number 15, which I was very surprised isn't a lot higher at the moment on this list. Now moving on a little bit to NFT news, and I've been covering a little bit on NFTs the last few weeks, but what I found super interesting this week or this month is that in the last month the number of mints on Solana has now outperformed Ethereum. So we can see the Ethereum NFT mints here, and it peaked on the 16th of June with 12,000 mints. but it was really hovering kind of below the 5,000 mints for most of the last 30 days. Whereas Solana has been hovering above 10,000 for most of the month, and it peaked at 76,000 on the 30th of June. So Solana is now starting to outperform Ethereum when it comes to the minting of NFTs. And I'm not surprised because of how fast it is and how cheap it is to mint NFTs over on Solana. What will be interesting to see now is if this trend continues. And if this trend continues, can Solana also outperform Ethereum when it comes to the trading of NFTs? Because most of the trading of NFTs is still done on Ethereum. Jumping over now to the Fear and Greed Index. And the Fear and Greed Index at the moment is showing at 55. It is showing as greed, whereas last month it was neutral. So we're slightly in a greed phase at the moment and have been for the last week, although it is starting to slightly drop from where it was last week. Now, last week we had the increase in price in Bitcoin due to all of the ETFs being filed. But then when the SEC asked for more clarity on the filings, we took a little bit of a dip in the price. But what we'll do is hop over and we'll have a look at the charts now, and we'll go through the charts before we finish up for this week. So here we are on the weekly chart for Bitcoin, and we can see today being Friday. On the week we have a little red candle so far, but we're still above that whole moving average. And I've been talking about this whole moving average for the last number of weeks now, because a couple of weeks ago we dropped below it, and when we dropped below it, that was a big warning sound for me. But the ETFs were then filed and we pumped back above it, and we've remained back above it. Now we're in a little bit of a squeeze. We did reach a yearly high there at over 31,000, but we haven't broke above this line of resistance that we have in and around the 30 to 31,000. We haven't closed above this yet, so we're still testing this as resistance, and we had it as support back here in April. We had it as support back here in the previous May of 21. We also had it, if we go back a little bit further on the charts, it acted as support here as well back in February 21. So we're still trying to break through this, and if we break through this, we could see a nice rally up to around about 36,000, but we could easily come back down and test this trend line. And if this trend line is broken, it'll be interesting to see if we hold the 50-week EMA on this. If we hop over now and have a look at the monthly chart. On the monthly chart, we make this a little bit bigger. On the monthly chart, we are still above the 50-month moving average, but the whole moving average is still in red, and we're still below the whole moving average on the monthly trend. So we haven't yet broke above this, but when we do break above it, I expect that we will start to see newer highs for this year. Not necessarily all-time highs. I really don't believe that we're going to see all-time highs this year, but we could see newer highs up to around 38,000 if we break above the whole moving average. Let's have a look at the DXY as well, because I'm going to go down to the weekly on the DXY, and we can see the DXY, the whole turned positive on the DXY back at the end of May, and we've stayed above this, but we haven't managed to retest this 50-week. Now we do have a series of lower highs, but we're also after seeing a higher low here as well. And as I said, the whole is green and could remain green for some time. If we look at the RSI, we're still slightly in the oversold situation in the RSI. So we could easily come back up here and test this 50-week on the whole. This is the weekly chart for Ethereum, and the weekly chart for Ethereum, we have now dropped below the whole, and last week we closed within the hole. We could easily close below the hole this week, again failing to break new yearly highs on Ethereum on the weekly chart. Let's have a look at the monthly chart. Quite like Bitcoin, we are still below the hole, but the 50 month moving average is holding out. Let's go back to the weeklies and just look at some of the other charts. Matic still below the 50-week moving average, and the hull is quite strong in the red. Solana, we are still haven't even fully retested the 50-week moving average, let alone break above it. And we're still slightly in the oversold region in the RSI. Now, oversold, I like to see below 40 to be buying in. And we haven't been below 40 since around the 12th of June. So we are starting to gain a little bit of momentum, but it'll be interesting to see if we can break that 50-week moving average. Litecoin with the halving coming up. So the halving is really, really soon on Litecoin. Litecoin had a lovely week the week before last, but most of the gains from last week have been taken away. The hull has turned red, and it's looking like we may close below the hull this week. XRP is below the hull this week, so whether it closes below the hull is yet to be seen. We did bounce back up last week and not close below it, but we're not below the 50-week moving average, so it'll be interesting to see. We're still waiting on an outcome from XRP, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Slightly in more oversold than overbought. Radix we mentioned last week as well, because the update, the Babylon upgrade, was rescheduled. So last week we closed below the hull. Right now we are bouncing straight on the 50-week moving average. It'd be nice to hold that, but if it doesn't hold that, I can see us dropping further below. And again, I'm keeping an eye on this hull. Stacks below the hull, again above the 50-week moving average. We did break this downward sloping trend, so it'll be interesting to see if we bounce off it. We may bounce off it as it reaches the 50-week moving average, and that would be nice to see as well. And then DOT really has been struggling. I just don't know what to say about Polkadot at the moment. We're below the hull, we're below the 50-week. We haven't broke above the 50-week at all. Our RSI is pointing downwards. We could be going back into a buy zone where we're below the 40 in the RSI. Now, all of the charts that I shared with you today are just some of the charts that I look at, but I'd be really interesting to hear what tokens and what coins it is that you're looking at. And maybe next week what I can do is bring up some of them charts and tell you what I think about those particular charts. So do comment below and let me know what charts it is that you're interested in me sharing with you next week. But until then, have a wonderful week, and we'll be back next week. Goodbye now.